Hello and welcome to the protection and recovery series of videos using Rubrik's Polaris SaaS platform. My name is Chris Wahl, and we're going to focus on cloud-native protection for AWS instances and volumes. I'm going to walk you through a scenario where I have an EC2 instance running one of my important applications. In this case, it's HashiCorp's Vault product, and I want to make sure it's properly protected and recoverable. So the two main topics we're going to cover here are SLA domains. That includes account level protection for AWS or tag-based protection, file system indexing, and so forth. This is going to be everything we need to make sure the instances are protected. Then we're switched to recovery options, including restoring, exporting, or searching for files and folder that you want to recover more granularly. All right, let's get started with an introduction to SLA domains. In the data protection world, service level agreements, or SLAs, define protection levels for workloads, availability targets, any objects that are crucial to the company. Collecting this information, implementing it, and staying compliant with the SLA it's usually tedious. It's not fun, it's difficult. And Rubrik uses an SLA domain to make that SLA concept easier to achieve. Rubrik's SLA domains are comprised of three main components when utilized for AWS native protection. It's the snapshot frequency, the snapshot retention, and for replication, the region and duration for that data. Configuration of an SLA domain is as simple as you need it to be. I'm going to take a look at how the bronze SLA domain is configured because that's what we're using in this example. The protection policies page dictates the RPO, the retention length, any custom time constraints you might have, and it hides any additional retention values that aren't using, such as hourly, weekly, quarterly. That's all under Show More. Remote policies control where the data lives beyond the initial snapshot. And notice that the cross-region snapshot replication feature, it's a native part of the SLA construction. All you have to do is define a target region and the number of days in your SLA domain, and then Polaris will replicate any snapshots created by that SLA to the target region, and also expire them after the specified number of days have elapsed. For those that love automation, the configuration of the SLA domain can be viewed via GraphQL. Here's an example in JSON. This is the payload I got back from the API, asking it to show the configuration layout for the bronze SLA domain. So that means if you're into automation efforts around the construction or modification of SLA domains, it's certainly possible using your favorite automation tools or languages. Moving on, it's also possible via Polaris to assign an SLA policy to the entire AWS account or accounts and ensure that every instance provisioned into the protected regions in those accounts receives the required level of data protection without any need for an explicit SLA assignment. Account level SLAs can be overridden using tag-based assignment or by directly assigning SLAs to instances. Speaking of tags, tag-based protection allows for the assignment of an SLA policy to an instance or a volume whenever we find a specific tag key or when a key value pair is found on any instance or volume in any AWS account and scope. So these tag rules allow you to leverage existing provisioning or governing logic to apply the appropriate Rubrik SLAs across your AWS accounts and regions without the need for any manual intervention. In this example, I've already associated an AWS tag, the one that says application vault, to the bronze SLA domain. So by using that application tag, I've abstracted away the data management decisions from the app owner. I just automatically handle that. Alternatively, I could go a more direct approach and use an obvious tag such as protected by. Polaris is going to regularly poll the account to determine if any new instances or volumes have been provisioned, AWS tags have been modified, so forth, any kind of change. This can be adjusted to fit within whatever your application lifecycle may be. Let's take a look at my instance and see what Polaris is doing with it. So I'm going to go to the global search, type in Vault because that's the name and that's the first one on there. And by the way, the global search feature is really handy. You can find any object Polaris is tracking, instances, volumes, on-prem stuff, SaaS applications, and so forth. The overview page describes all of the critical information for my EC2 instance. And notably, I already have the bronze SLA domain assigned via that application tag shown earlier. I can also see the AWS tags assigned to this instance in the bottom right corner. I'll be honest, the calendar view is pretty great at exposing all the different snapshots taken across time. I can select a specific snapshot to perform a restore or an export or grab files. It's all right here. Okay, it's time to change gears. Let's focus on recovery. All right. As a customer, you can enable file recovery on your desired instances and volumes. And when this feature is enabled, what Polaris is going to do is index all the snapshots of these assets using Rubrik's exocompute engine. This is built on top of Amazon EKS, and we manage it for you. It's an ephemeral compute engine. It runs only when there's indexing work to do, then it goes away in order to maintain cost efficacy. Let's say I want to grab a copy of my Vault instances configuration file. It's named vault.hcl. So maybe I'm just looking in the path, looking in Etsy to see where it is. Oh, there it is. And you can see it crawls with you. Or maybe I have no idea what path it is, and I just want to start typing the name in. It's going to find it there too. Once I select the file, I also get the ability to see all the versions of it. And so I can say, about March 2nd, that one looks good. It's a few days ago. And from there, I get to restore it to either an existing or a new S3 bucket. Although in my case, I already have one that I've set up for you, and if I explore the download section, we can see there's the file that I wanted. I actually brought up an SSH session to the server, along with the config file that I downloaded, so you can see they're the same. So I could replace any missing information details or just overwrite the file entirely. So let's look at other options other than file and folder. I can also look across the calendar at this entire year, or this month, or today. I don't really have any backups today. It hasn't been a long enough time, so let's go back a few days. And from there, I have choices for restoration beyond just files and folders. I can export or restore. A restore is pretty straightforward. I just want to replace an instance that's bad, and I have the option to replace it with the tags from the snapshot that was taken for that restore. I'm going to back out of this because I actually like this server. Let's do an export instead. This can take that instance and package it up, put it in whatever other region that you have access and want to use. So I'm going to blank out the current one, and let's choose, I don't know, Northern California. It's that simple. I choose it, put in any kind of encryption keys, VPC, etc., and now the instance will just come up in a different region for you. All right, well, today we went through an introduction to the SLA domains, including AWS account and tag-based auto protection, file system indexing, replication, etc. And we covered different options for recovering an EC2 instance, including restoration, exporting, and searching with file and folder recovery. I'm Chris Wahl. I hope you learned a lot, and thank you for watching.